Good afternoon. My name is Jose Garcia. I am the group leader for the production support team, and I am very excited
Thank
to
you.
share the
I should be
QCC
good.
my team has worked on for quarter number 2. So without further ado, I present our QCC leader, Jason Moore.
Good afternoon. Today our team will report out on our quality circle theme, ergonomic improvement. Now let me introduce you to just the facts. Our team is made up of our advisors, Jose Garcia and Juan Herrera. Vince Cepeda served as our team leader, and our team members were Ronnie Lopez, Kana Molinax, and Victor Dominguez. I'd like to begin with our pre-level assessment. Individually, we each have several quality circles completed. Our team's collective capabilities and dynamics placed us in a Zone C. After determining our focus activity, I formulated an action plan along with my advisor that set aside time for both our pre-work and scheduled enough time to complete the 8-step process by June the 6th. Now let's discuss some background concerning our quality circle. Before the production support group, the raw material corral was communal and there were very few standards in place. Due to this issue, the production support group assumed ownership of the area. We had to complete work instruction sheets and risk assessments for the 6 raw materials. Pre-work data was entered into the HumanTech industrial ergonomics software, and the baseline values that it generated exceeded the maximum allowed ergonomic burden. Because of this, we decided to forego the theme selection matrix and made improving the ergonomic burden in these processes our focus activity. In step 1, clarify the problem, we began with our ultimate goal, which was to proactively provide a system for the raw material corral with the necessary conditions, or the RJ, that will keep our team members in the weld shop safe, preserve our quality, and maintain efficiency. Ideally, we would have an ergonomic burden of 0. However, we currently had an ergonomic burden in our raw material corral of 243, which established our gap, an actual ergonomic burden of 243. This is a problem because our average ergonomic burden in the raw material corral is a 40, and according to the HumanTech software, it considers any process with a score greater than 30 a red process, and currently 5 of the 6 were red. So with our problem in focus, we moved on to step 2, breaking down the problem. Using strong division points, we first asked, of the ergonomic burden of 243, what raw material handling process stands out? We evaluated our 6 processes based on usage in the shop, and due to the extensive presence, we concluded we could make the biggest impact by selecting Sikka-Seal 710, which has an ergonomic burden of 41. Then we asked which part of the body has the highest ergonomic burden. The software compiled our pre-work data along with the video and generated this breakdown of the ergonomic burden on the hands and wrists, elbows, shoulders, neck, back, and legs. Shoulders, with an ergonomic burden of 13, was highest. Which risk factor is the biggest contributor? Well, the risk factors are force, posture, duration, and frequency. And force was the biggest contributor with a score of 8. So what type of force? The task analysis in the software breaks down the ergonomic burden caused by force during the performance of the process, distinguishing it by type. The push force, when pushing the cart with a full barrel, scored highest with an ergonomic burden of 6. Finally, we asked which part of the pushing was the biggest risk factor. The individual task analysis requires data for the initial force that is required to move the cart and the sustained force required to keep the cart moving. As you can see, the initial force is below the recommended 19 kilograms of push force, resulting in a low risk to the team member with an ergonomic burden of 0. The sustained force, however, is well above both the recommended and acceptable figures, placing the team member at a high risk with an ergonomic burden of 6. We then concluded that pushing the cart with a full barrel is our point of occurrence, and the sustained force in this element is our prioritized problem. Therefore, our prioritized problem at the point of occurrence is the sustained force ergonomic burden of 6 when pushing the cart with a full barrel. Now, Victor Dominguez will present step 3.
Thank you, Jason. Hello,
I'm Victor Dominguez. So for step 3, setting a target, we wanted to set a target that was challenging and achievable. Therefore, our target was to eliminate the sustained force ergonomic burden of 6 by May 30th. If we're able to accomplish this, our sustained force ergonomic burden for CY22 will go from a 6 down to a 0, which would be a 100% reduction. This would be a 2.5% reduction to our overall ergonomic burden.
Thank you, Victor. For step 4, determine the root cause, we will begin with our PPO from step 2, which is a sustained ergonomic burden of 6 when pushing the cart with a full barrel. In order to determine the root cause, we thoroughly investigated the process and through actual fact gathering and asking why until we could specify the root cause. To do so, we looked at the 4M plus E to consider all potential causes. Beginning with environment, we thought maybe we were getting the burden because the floor condition was not conducive to pushing a heavy load because the floor was damaged during 780B model change. Going to the floor, we did review the floors and any damages had been repaired already, so this eliminated environment as a potential root cause. Now looking at man, we wondered if they were using the proper handholds when pushing the cart, because there's not a good handhold on the cart or because the handles are too low. Now the best practice is to have the handle between 95 centimeters and 115 centimeters off the floor. The carts on the floor measured 100 centimeters. This eliminated man as potential root cause. Reviewing our material, we thought maybe the material was coming in too heavy because the barrels were overfilled. In communicating with oil stores, we did confirm that the standard weight was 620 pounds and that there had not been any deviation. This eliminated material as a potential root cause. For method, we thought maybe the TMs were not using the correct cart because the carts were not clearly identifiable or they were not in home position. Going out to the floor, we did confirm that the barrel carts have designated home positions and they were clearly marked. This eliminated method as a potential root cause. Now we will review machine. But one more time, I will go over our PPPO, a sustained force ergonomics burden of 6 when pushing the cart with a full barrel. Why? Because 15.9 kilograms of sustained force is required to keep the cart moving. Why? Because the design of the cart is insufficient for moving heavy objects. Why? Because the cart does not have the correct wheels. Now for root cause verification, we went out to the floor, to the material laydown area with our Kaizen group, our shareholder, and determined that the wheels have needle bearings. Therefore, research revealed that the needle bearing increased friction, requiring more force to move the carts. The information moved us to conclude that the cart does not have the correct wheels. Therefore, the design of the cart is insignificant for moving heavy objects. Therefore, 15.9 kilograms of sustained force is required to keep the cart moving, and therefore a sustained force ergonomic of 6 when pushing the cart with a full barrel. That is our true root cause.
Thank you, Ronnie. On step 5, developing countermeasures, we utilized a decision matrix and proposed countermeasures based on the hierarchy of controls. We evaluated the proposed countermeasures on cost, effectiveness, can we do it, and feasibility. Utilizing our legend, we then determined a judgment. Our first countermeasure is to eliminate the risk of team member by having the AGV deliver the raw materials. The second countermeasure was to stage raw materials closer to the pump station, which would substitute the risk of one of the lesser value. Third, we proposed an engineering control, which was to add an electric motor to the cart, which would reduce the force needed to move the cart. Our fourth countermeasure was to use wheels on the cart that were made with friction-reducing roller bearings. which was another engineering control. And finally, we proposed an administrative control that would change the standardized work and make raw material delivery a two-man process. As you can see, we selected the fourth countermeasure to use wheels made with roller bearings since it scored the highest with an 18 out of 20 points possible. To implement this countermeasure, we developed an action plan focusing on the PDCA mindset. For plan, we arranged to contact Kaizen for wheel recommendations, order wheels from a vendor, and communicate the cart trial to the team leaders in the weld shop. For do, we planned to install the wheels on the cart and then check out the ErgoFet tools and take the video and photos of the updated cart. Following up with the act, we would enter updated data into the Human Tech industrial software and evaluate potential for Yokoten. Moving on to step 6, see countermeasures through, we created a Donwacho so that we could track our progress and adhere to our action plan. Considering our plan items, we were able to source the wheels through our Kaizen team and communicate our cart trial by our target date of May 10th. For do, our Kaizen team was able to install the friction reducing wheels made by Twergo onto our trial cart, and our trial began on May 12th. The following day, on May 13th, our team began our check items by testing the new push force and getting photos and video of the cart, completing our work by the 20th. Our act items, particularly entering the data into Human Tech software, was completed by the 24th and closed out. During the cart trials, however, an added issue was identified. Our team observed that when loading the barrel onto the cart, TLs were holding the cart in one hand and using the other hand to pull the barrel. Our new wheels rolled so freely that it made the condition worse. With a PDCA mindset, our QCC proposed an additional Kaizen to install the foot brake. The Kaizen team installed the foot brake, which eliminated the need to hold the cart in place. Now TLs could employ a two-hand push when loading the cart. Now Victor Dominguez will discuss step 7.
For step 7, confirm results and processes. Let's recap what our before condition looked like. Our initial sustaining force of 15.9 kilograms exceeded our acceptable allowance of 12. This generated a high risk task for our team members, reflected in an ergonomic burden of 6. After our Kaizens, the sustaining force was now only 4.9 kilograms, which is below the recommended allowance of 9. This resulted in a low risk task reflected in the new ergonomic burden of 0. Looking at our results, our push force ergonomic burden was reduced from a force value of 6 to 0, which meant we did achieve our target. As far as the impact to our overall ergonomic burden, initially we targeted a 2.5% reduction, but with the additional Kaizens to be processed to the process, we went from 243 to 223, which was an 8.2% reduction, exceeding our target.
Thank you, Victor. For step 8, standardized successful processes, we utilized an action plan. We updated standardized work by making the changes to the work instruction sheets. We then filled out a process document change form and filed it with the NAM QSR team. Finally, we performed a new risk assessment. Next, we wanted to sustain our countermeasure. We decided that the optimal method would be to utilize 4S and self-discipline. To accomplish that, we included the raw material corral and production supports zone map, created 4S visuals, and placed them in the corral itself. Our plan for Yokoten of our countermeasures includes ordering more wheels, having the Kaizen team install them onto the remaining barrel carts, and informing the shop TLs of this new change point. And back over to Jason with our conclusion.
Thank you, Kana. As you can see from our activity plan, we fell behind due to the amount of pre-work we needed to perform before we could actually begin our quality circle. However, after 3 weeks with 2 meetings per week, we were able to actually finish ahead of our target of June the 6th. Following up with a post-level assessment and entering our data, it shows that we are now just inside the Zone B. And now, let's have some of the team's reflections. For me, my personal reflection comes from step 6. What I learned is when you don't get the desired result that you're looking for, not to give up, but instead to apply the PDCA mindset and look for new countermeasures to take care of the issue.
My reflection comes from step 4. I've always learned to consider the 4 M's: man, method, machine, and material. But in this quality circle, we included environment as a potential root cause.
My reflection on this QCC was using the hierarchy of controls on step 5, which is developing countermeasures. By using the hierarchy of controls, we're able to come up with enough countermeasures to actually evaluate.
My greatest reflection from this quality circle was the use of the Human Tech ergonomic software. I'm really excited to be able to use this software on the shop floor to help all of our team members and help prevent any future MSDs.
My greatest reflection is the amount of teamwork involved and how the meetings were timely and very productive. And also the pre-work done was excellent and made this a lot easier and a lot faster.
Great job, team. And now we will go live for the Q&A.